Good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 519. A little froggy this morning. Good morning. Welcome to a Thursday edition. There we go. La 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 la. There we go. Good voice. What's up, Jenny? Good morning, Ed. How y'all doing? Boy, I sounded southern right there. How y'all doing? What is up? Hobby Evolution. We're going to talk card shows today, specifically about being on the other side of the table, vending, being a dealer. So I want to go over first timer tips um, because I get asked that question a lot. Especially now that I promote my own card show, I receive a lot of first time dealers. I was actually chatting with one yesterday who's going to be setting up at my March show, which is next Saturday, the 19th, here in Madison, Wisconsin. Um, and I get asked a lot, kind of basic stuff. And a lot of times we gloss over the important things because we're focused on the stuff that we're going to sell. So we're going to go into that too. Thanks to Jenny for bringing up some awesome questions. Jenny's questions I'll tackle after I get to I'll go into the first timer questions first. And then I'll tackle some of the veteran strategies, and I'll share my own because everybody's going to be a little different with what they sell at shows. I'm the bargain box guy, so my strategy is going to be much different than somebody who has showcases with higher end cards. So we'll talk basic strategy for first timers and newbies, as well as strategies for like myself, and I continue to alter my own strategies, and I've set up at probably 20 to 25 shows in the last year, and still nothing is uniform with how I approach each card show. Dan is with us. What is up, Dan? Diego, good morning. Jenny says the eBay spring seller check-in is today. I guess I'm invited to register. Are you? Probably. I get so many emails from eBay that I kind of gloss over. I've only checked into one of those eBay seller check-ins, which I definitely should be more proactive in checking those out. So I'll check my eBay email and see. So yesterday was what's up, John? Get that thumbs up. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Yesterday, I added a few cards. I hit, so I wanted to get back up to 11,000, and I did about 60 cards, a quick file exchange update because I've been focusing on this weekend's card show and refreshing my bargain boxes, and then also shipping. So I've kind of the listing part has kind of taken a back seat to my card show inventory. But I did list enough to get to 11,000. And I mean, it was like right on the dot. Like after I did the upload, 11,000 active listings. And now it's down back in like close to 10,900. So it was a big sales day. A lot of sale. The last week has been pretty big with my eBay store, which is good, which is very good. And then of course I watched some college hoops. Big Ten tournament began yesterday, and I sat through the Nebraska Northwestern game. I watched Boston. I watched some Boston College because my old head coach when I worked at Western Illinois, Coach Jim Molinari, he's an assistant at BC now. They pulled off a nice win, an upset win over Wake Forest. So they advanced to like the quarterfinals because is that the Big East or AC? No, that's ACC, I guess. So ACC is such a large conference now. So they advanced to the quarterfinals. So now we're getting into a lot of the low major tournaments have ended, and their champions have been have played it out. So they've got their auto bids, and now we're in the Power Five, and some of the larger conferences playing their tournaments out. Selection Sunday this Sunday, which is overshadowing my absolute uh, just absolute, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm just pissed off at baseball because, well, I expected, I was pessimistic, and wasn't getting my hopes up. And sure enough, they now it's kind of on the players. Like, what are the play now? The players are putting their foot in the sand, and it's kind of like, just play ball. Like, let's just come on. We're getting close. We're getting close. Now two more series are canceled. Now openings day pushed back to, like, what, April 14th. So they're still negotiating, but it's like, where was this? There's more sense of urgency now, but it seems like there's not, as more games get canceled. But it's like, where was this sense of urgency in January? Like, instead of sitting on a beach or whatever you were doing, freaking negotiate. Get get a damn season going. So I was pretty salty. I was pretty salty last night about that, because I'm annoyed. I think all fans are annoyed and should be annoyed, that we have to sit through this garbage. What's up, Zach? Morning, no chat. Have a great day. You too. Let's see, where are we at? Herman's with us. What is up, Herman? Jenny says they are cutting it way too close to missing that Jackie Robinson 75-year anniversary. Yes, they are. A pessimist is never disappointed, but it is a kick in the teeth. It sure is. Maybe today. Now again, I'm focusing on my, sport is basketball now. So hopefully, I still haven't booked I've booked my hotel for spring training. And I, like, fully anticipate, I've resorted to expecting only minor league baseball when I go to spring training in now 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks. So it is what it is. I booked my hotel. I haven't booked my flight. I should have booked it on, today's Thursday. Tuesday had the best price so far. And the prices went up like $150 a ticket from Tuesday to Wednesday. So I'll check to see what flight prices are today. I'm playing Russian roulette with, hope I can say that without getting YouTube censoring me. So I'm playing that game, watching the prices go up, go down, and just trying to capture the lowest ticket price. My wife's like, why don't you just book a one stop with a layover? Because it's like $300 cheaper, but it's like, no, like, I will spend the extra money to avoid a layover because I hate airports. I hate boarding a plane. I hate deplaning. It's like my biggest pet peeve because people have to stand up. It's an hour flight and people, like, have to stand up out of their seat in the aisle as soon as the plane lands. And it's like, Jesus, it's been an hour. We just flew from Chicago to Minneapolis and you have to stretch your legs this soon? Like, come on. Standing up in the aisleway is not going to get you out of this plane any sooner. Just sit your happy ass down and enjoy the next 10 minutes. Gas prices are skyrocketing. You better get your ticket. You're going to go way up. Yeah, I think I might be the only person on at least that I've seen on social media that was surprised at how low gas prices were yesterday. I've seen all these photos and everybody complaining about gas prices. I filled up yesterday. We're still in the threes. It was like as close to $4 as you can get, but it was still under $4. So I'm like, oh, hey, it's not $4.59 or $4.29 or whatever. It's $3.99. This is cool. I like it. If I would have went to Costco, probably even cheaper, but I just went to a random gas station. Herman said I had to do a layover on my return flight for April and keep from leaving at 6 a.m. That's probably smart. Like the return trips. So I love early morning flights going out. I love early morning flights going out. So my flight to Arizona, well, I haven't booked yet, but I will. It's like a 6 or 6:30 a.m. flight, which I love for many reasons. I'm less anxious. I'm a less anxious flyer early in the morning, probably because I'm still, like, tired, because I'm waking up at 4 a.m. and all that. So that's one reason I like it. And the second reason is, especially like flying out to Phoenix, 3 hour flight, and you lose an hour. I enjoy getting out there at like 11 a.m. Like I'm gonna be exhausted by the end of the day, but that's kind of like my travel day, and I'm not doing although last time I went out, it was the Heckler bar crawl, and so it was a really late night, a long day. Wasn't really a late night, but a long day. So that's why I like, I can get out there early and enjoy the day, just kind of have, do my own thing at my own pace. So those are the reasons why I like early morning flights. And I hate flying like late at night. It's nice, like if you're in Herman's instance, we're gonna be drinking some Bud Light, playing with baseball cards on Saturday night after the card show. So waking up at 4 a.m. on Sunday, we don't want to do that. Um, but I don't like my return flight out of Arizona. It's like 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. And I hate that because, I have the whole day. It's like, and it's travel day. So you're just anxious to just go home, because it's travel day. So let's see. Ed said, you just hit my biggest flying pet peeve. That might be my biggest pet peeve, uh, regardless of travel or anything. Just overall, biggest pet peeve is the whole deplaning process. Rick says, feels like fans are powerless. We are the pine tar and the rosin bags. We're just extras in the game, right? OG Card Scammers with us. What's up? Good morning to you. Made it home safe and sound from Dallas. What an awesome show. Glad you had some fun. I think you met Rich and Steph, I believe. Um, I think it was Rich that mentioned on one of the chats this week that said he met you. I laugh at the people that have to stand up after an hour, says the guy has a midway stop to Rockford that's a 2 hour drive. Rockford's actually only an hour and 15 minutes. But normally I don't stop. Usually it's straight through. Michael, what's up? Good morning. I hate gate lice at the terminal. I plan on hitting one of the Dallas card shows this year. Close to getting the Fujitsu scanner. Very cool. Very cool. By the way, they have it. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier this week. Fujitsu's coming out with a scanner in the next couple months. Should be on the market. That is a feed scanner that will feed slabs. So it'll have the capability to slab or um, to scan slab, as thick as slabs. So I'm interested to see that scanner in action. Based on your travel planning, your bumper music should be Johnny Cash's "One Piece at a Time," right? I've got my hotel booked. I haven't rented a car yet. Haven't even booked my flight yet. So like, I am the exact extreme opposite of my wife. My wife like wants to plan as soon as, like, you can book flights 6 months out, whatever it is. Like as soon as like it's 6 months, she's like, okay, booked. All right, now we need to do this. Like she's the ultimate planner. I'm the ultimate, like, just go with the flow. We'll get there. So needless to say, when we vacation together, she's the planner, and I'm just along for the ride. I watched a video from Card Collector 2 on the Dallas Card Show. Looked like it was a lot of high-end cards. Did you see any bargain boxes? That's one thing that I've always, from what I've heard, is the Dallas Card Show is like a lot of, and I think even Mike from Bench Clear mentioned in a show this week that the Dallas Card Show is like 80% modern, as opposed to vintage. Only like 20% vintage. It's heavily modern. And what I've heard is it's a lot of like high-end slabs, and not as many bargain boxes, and one less now that Rich isn't there. But I would be curious to see if, how many bargain box booths there are at the Dallas Card Show, because all of the reports I see are these, high-end cards. DR, what's up? Good morning. I bought an 8-binder collection at the card show over the weekend. Made my first sale while I was asleep. It always feels good to sell that first card. Oh, definitely. Dallas Card Show experience, first time, was awesome. Very cool. I met Rich Klein. Awesome. Let's see. How does the scanner not ruin cards? Well, think about how cards are made. Um, cards are fed through machines to be printed. So and that's I mean it's basically the same concept as how cards are actually printed. So um, a feed scanner, I actually have. I haven't damaged any cards using the feed scanner, um, and I bite my nails. So flatbed scanners, it's I've never had much success with a flatbed scanner. I highly dislike flatbed scanners. I've damaged more cards dropping them on the floor, like pulling a card and oh, this card's sold, and then I drop it and a corner dings, and I've got to reach out to the buyer and say, hey, I dropped your card. So that does happen. Like that literally does happen. People, I know it. If you buy a card and they come back and say it got damaged, like it legit happens. And it's happened to me far more times than any damage from the scanner. I haven't had any issues, and I've probably scanned at this point 10,000 cards, probably 10,000 cards, around that number. Yes, I crested 1,000. Thank you very much. Um, when I left Seattle, gas 389. When I landed 459, now it's 489. What a crazy week. Fortunately, I only have to fill up once every few weeks, so I don't even look at gas. I don't even care because it doesn't matter how much I we complain about gas price. It's it is what it is. And if you want to go somewhere in a car, you're gonna have to put gas in it, and it doesn't matter how much we complain and moan. It's gonna be the same. So I don't even care. I don't even look at the signs. I don't care. Mike is awesome. It was really cool meeting Mike in person and having a great conversation. I'm excited to return to Dallas in May. Very cool. It was jamming in Dallas. Greetings from AA Flight 1881. What is up, John? John, where's your travels taking you today? Um, I'm a road tripping machine. I have always said, don't worry, be happy, fill up the tank and keep rolling. I like it. I like it. I'm only going to care about gas prices come April when I got to figure out how many cards to sell just to cover gas and hotel. That's something that we kind of take for granted when we think about setting up at a card show as we transition into card show talk. Especially if it's a multi-day show, just landed from Orlando. Very cool. If it's a multi-day show, you've got a hotel stay, or if you're from out of town, you've got a hotel stay. Of course, travel. If some states have tolls, if you're in the Chicago suburbs, you've got tolls. Of course, gas, all of that stuff, meals. So there's additional costs where it's like, I was always when I first when I was more of I did some card shows in the 90s and then again in the early 2000s, but I started doing a regular show in probably 2006, 2007, somewhere in there. It was in Springfield, Illinois. And it's like I like from the start of my day to the end of my day, it's like, okay, I spent $4 on breakfast burritos and I spent, $8 at Olive Garden or wherever we would go after the show. So, um, this was my meal money. I bought a Mountain Dew I don't like Mountain Dew. I bought a Pepsi at the pop machine. So I figured every expense that was related to my trip. And then it's like, okay, so this is what I made. I spent X amount on a table. I sold X amount minus my meals. Here's what my net was. So some of those things, like Jenny mentioned, there's a lot of costs that go into it that we kind of just take for granted and gloss over. Um, but they are real expenses, real money. So I want to start off with card show talk, setting up as a dealer for first timers. So if you're a first time dealer, some tips um, on kind of what to expect. And I think the biggest key, if you're a first time dealer at a card show, I think it's key to actually go to the show first, experience the show. And it's kind of difficult, if you're coming from several hours away and it just doesn't work schedule wise. But if it's a fairly regional show within a couple hours drive. I would always go to the show first, check it out. When we had the old show here on Sundays, I went to the show a few times, wanted to get the lay of the land. Um, it was too. I like to have my bargain boxes. You've seen the pictures; it's in the thumbnail. I like to have my bargain boxes, a big spread. I like to have chairs so people can sit. And I learned when I went to this particular show, there's just no room. There wasn't room for two people to get through an aisle. So I knew that I had to kind of shy away from the mini bargain boxes because people, wouldn't spend much time because, there's people kind of brushing up against them and bumping shoulders and all that stuff. So I always like to get the lay of the land first, and just kind of gauge the crowd. What's get a sense of what's moving, what's selling, and what's needed. Are there bargain box if and I'm gonna tailor this more to bargain because that's what I've traditionally done as a vendor. Again, I've never graded a cart, so I'm not into the high end slab games. So I can't give good advice on what moves in that market. But with bargain boxes, is there a need? When I went to Schaumburg, I wouldn't say I made a mistake going to Schaumburg last summer, but I was put out in the hallway right next to another bargain box dealer, and guess what? The other bargain box dealer was a longtime regular, and so the regular customers, they knew that he had good stuff month in month out, and they would walk right by. And I had some good stuff, and I had multiple people say, "Wow, these are awesome quarter boxes." But a majority of the people knew that the guy next to me, Dell, his name's Dell. He does a lot of the Chicago area shows. And Dell has, and I went through his boxes. He has some great stuff, and I bought from him at the Spectacular. And so it, put in if I was a regular customer and here's Bo with bargain boxes. Well, I don't know Bo. He's never set up at the Schaumburg show before, but I know Dell and I know his inventory. I'm going to go see Dell. And that's why I had a crappy show in Schaumburg. Now, if I would have kept going back, I probably could have built, a consistent, a larger customer base, made more money. But, it's more of it. That show was more of a hassle for me travel wise because I had to leave at like 5 a.m. Actually, yeah, 5 a.m. I was up at 4, up at 5 a.m. There's a lot of tolls on the way to Schaumburg because it's interstate, and there's like 5 tolls before you get off the exit. And then it's a long day, and then when I come back and I net like $10, it's like I don't know if this was worth it. So and I'd never gone to the show. I wanted to test it out. So that's, I think, a big key. Go to the show before you set up as a vendor just to see you know some of the idiosyncrasies to the show. So before I move on to the next topic, let's address the chat real quick. Let's see, where are we at? Cooter says, in Dallas, as a raw vintage collector, I usually end up buying most cards from the same 3 dealers. It's definitely modern and slab heavy, but an amazing experience every time. Everyone should go. Yeah, it's definitely the Dallas card show, something that I want to get to just for the people, because there's a lot of people in the Dallas area. Some I've met, and I like to hang out with them again, like Rich. We were able to dig through dollar boxes at the National last year. So and meet for the first time, like Ken and Brad, and Steph I met at the National the 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But some of those guys. John says, from that 70s card show, only time I use my money on the road is on cards, everything else on company credit card, fortunately. That's a good perk. That's a great perk. I agree on going to show first. There's one 2 miles from my house on Saturday, but it's a first time show, so I'm checking out how they advertise, drew customers before I say I'll set up in May. Yeah, that's perfect. Let's get baseball started. Russ Wilson just left for the Denver Broncos. Did I enter the twilight zone? Cooter says, I'm seriously thinking about a trip to Madison for your show in a day on the terrace with my best friends, brats and beer. Oh man, definitely. So to wait a few months. wait until we get out of hopefully April 30th we'll have decent weather, but by Memorial Day, my May show is Memorial Day Saturday. Once we get into May, June, July, August, into September, September, there's a home Wisconsin Badger football game every Saturday in the month of September because I always try to avoid because my show's on Saturdays, try to avoid game day on Saturday because uh, my exit where my exit is, or the card show is, that exit is like Grand Central Station for game day. That's be a treat. Um, let's see. Miss our early AM coffee. Glad to be home safe and sound. DR said, would you be more willing to make a larger deal as a dealer at the beginning of the show so that you feel like you were going to have a great day, or at the end of the show? Ooh, this is a good question. That's a good question. I'm going to circle back to that, DR. That's a great question. Uh, beginning or end of show deals, because I want to stay on the first time vendors, first time tips, and then I want to go into strategies more for a veteran dealer. So I think that kind of sinks in more as a veteran, somebody who's set up multiple times. Jenny says, as a shopper, I'm opposite. I'll go to the new guy versus the guy I see every show, new inventory. That's yeah, and that's I'm I'm actually the opposite because I know, like, when I go to the spectacular, like the card shop in Freeport, Jennings, that's the first place I go. And I mean, I was there 2 weeks ago, shopped at his shop. And then the next show I see him, I will go straight to him. Even though there may be a bargain box vendor from Dallas here at a Chicago show, um, I know the Jennings. I know what Jennings has, and I have success every time digging through his boxes. So I'm gonna go to the guys that I'm familiar with first. We had a really cool dealer set up next to us with amazing bargain boxes, and he kept selling and selling and selling. It was fascinating to witness. That's awesome. Does Dell also sell shower curtain rings? Talk about a market is hot. I'm curious if Southeast Wisconsin shows have no camera recording policy, and your thoughts on everyone having a camera crew. I like it. I think it's great because it promotes. You know, if somebody has a camera and they're filming from the card show, it's promoting. You know, I'm a promoter, and so that's like that's like organic marketing right there. That's free. I don't have to spend any money on ads for people coming in with camera crews. I like it. I actually uh, I actually would prefer more people do it, especially fellow, you know, other dealers like to promote their own stuff. I am big on recording. Like, I think it's great, and you know, I think the more cameras there are, if there's a theft issue, you can pinpoint, like, go through people's footage and say, okay, that's the guy. I'm big on cameras. I'm big on cameras. So if you're a dealer that wants to set up at the Madison Card Show, know that I'm pro filming, and you know, I would like everybody to have a camera crew and promote the show and promote deals. My thoughts on cameras are, you better ask if you're putting someone's face on the internet. I know someone that has a bad ex that went to prison for injuries to her. That's terrible. I don't like to hear those stories, but you know, I think I mean, when you walk into a show like that, you have to be prepared to, you know, that's, if you're out in a public place, like, that's just, you know, I always ask if I'm gonna take, like, I've taken photos of like kids trading. I don't do that unless, like, I see an adult next to them that I assume is their parents, and I will ask, like, "Is that your kid? Can I take a photo for promotion, for marketing?" And they're always like, "Oh yeah, of course, of course." But I always ask before I take, like, I'll take candid room shots. I don't care. But if I'm like taking, you know, I had a photo that I used for promotion of two kids doing a trade. Before I took that photo, since they are like 10, 12-year-old kids, I want to get permission from, you know, their adult supervision, whether it's their parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, whatever, before I take photos and, you know, put those photos on the internet of children. Um, but let's see. Have you ever seen a dealer launch a rewards program, not just informally, but a formal rewards program to encourage repeat clients at future shows? Not familiar with that. No. Um, Let's see. 608 says, "Would you do a live from your show?" Uh, so me personally, I'm so busy with just kind of doing. I usually take video and then post it on Twitter and Instagram. I attempted to do a live video like Hobby Evolution at my very first card show, and we had in the very first card show I had like 15 tables. So and I was distracted like 2 seconds in. So I don't have the time, especially now as it's grown. I just don't have the time to sit down and have 10, 20, 30 minutes to devote to doing that. Dallas was a walking, talking promotion all day. It was absolutely awesome. The security, the cameras, the drones, and the YouTube community was everywhere. Great to have eyes in the sky. Cameras, cameras, cameras. I agree with Dan, whatever he said. Oh, yeah, agree out in public. Now I think of it, I've seen places that say we are recording for advertising. Yeah, I know at the National, I think it was Jeff, sports card investor, had signs posted like on the walls. Now it was hard to like, you actually had to be like at the end of the room to see but I was kind of where there used to be tables and chairs there, but now it's not. It's just kind of you can sit up against the wall. And I saw some papers that say we are recording at this show. So wear your makeup at the Madison show. Madison Card Show gone wild. On a serious note, videos are good. I enjoy the content, but kids shouldn't be on there without parents' permission. I agree, and kind of like I said, if it's a room shot, it is what it is. You're in a big public area, but if I'm actually taking a photo of underage kids, then it's always ask an adult um, supervisor slash parent. Back to first time card shows. So talked about getting a lay of the land, going checking it out. Um, what to bring? That's like the biggest question. Like, what should I bring? And that kind of leads in from go to the show. What? First off, assess your own inventory. Like, what do you have to bring? If you have a lot of bulk, are you going to be a bargain box dealer? Are you going to have high end slabs with a showcase? Are you going to just sell middle end cards, $5, $10, $20 cards? And I think it's important to find your niche and not have everything, because here's why. If you have a bunch of bargain boxes and then a showcase of high end slabs, many people, especially the high end people, are going to see a bunch of monster boxes and they're not even going to walk up to your table. It's funny because I'll have my buddy Mark sets up next to me, and he has a couple showcases with some really nice cards, and people will walk up with their Pelican cases. Are you buying? Are you buying? Are you buying? And then they look at my table and they walk right away. So the people that are high end. So if you have anything that's like that, I would say don't put them next to your bargain boxes, because if you're tailoring to that crowd, they're going to just see a bunch of boxes. They're going to totally gloss over your showcase and not look at it, because they assume you've just got a bunch of white monster boxes. You're a bargain box guy. There's not going to be what they want in that showcase, and that's just the way people think. So find your niche. If you're going to be bargain boxes, do bargain boxes. If you're going to do a showcase, do a showcase. You know, if not, try it. Do a table and do a little bit of both and see what sticks. But I would say pick your poison, and stick to kind of your niche, so customers know, hey, you're the guy with the high end slabs, or hey, you're the bargain box guy, or you've got great deals for dollar cards and $5 cards, whatever it may be. So that's my advice on what to bring in. It's hard. It's like, well, first off, what do you have? Assess your own inventory, and then make a decision on what your niche might be. Size up your space for a first timer. This is huge. I never sized up my space for like most card shows, and I would always bring much more than the space I had. Whether I had a 6-foot table or an 8-foot table, I brought 12 feet, worth of stuff. And now it's like, well, I want to put this. I want to put this. I want to put this. And the first shows I did back in like '06, '07 when started to become a regular dealing at a show, that's the mistake I made because I had like a little bit of everything. I had bargain boxes, I had $5, $10 cards, and then I had just tchotchkes, just random junk. And then I had a lot of like just from collections, unopened sets and wax boxes that I would sell, and those moved actually the most at that point in time. So size up your space. 6 foot table, 8 foot table is at a six. Our tables in Madison 6 by 3, so you can fit two of the monster boxes, the two of the 4 row boxes back to back on a table. So I think you can fit six. Yeah, one, two, three. You can fit 6 monster boxes on one single table. Um, so size up your space. And you're probably, even though you know how much space you have, you're probably going to bring more than the space you have. I still do it. I can put 3 tables together at my show, and I'll fill those tables up and have some boxes behind me. And one of the biggest things that we kind of gloss over, and these are like kind of the most important things, enough change. And so I had somebody ask me, well, how much change do you bring? And it's like, well, what are you selling? Because if you're selling high end slabs and your inventory is $100 and $500 and $1,000, you're going to need more cash than me doing 25-cent cards and dollar cards. So how much are you going to bring? How much do you expect to sell? Now, when you're dealing with $1,000 card, you're probably not going to need change for $1,000. But if you're selling a lot of $5, $10 cards and somebody gives you a 50 or 100, you're going to need some change. So bring plenty of cash. Um, if you're doing bargain boxes, so I do typically 2 tables with my 25-cent and dollar boxes, and I always bring $200 in cash and small bills. I'll bring a couple 20s, but the rest is like tens, fives, and ones, and mostly tens and fives, because and it kind of depends. I've found that I actually I get a lot of ones, which is something that I was surprised by. I would get more like people buying $2 worth of cards and handing me a 20. So I always bring $200 cash for as a bargain box vendor, and then that covers if I want to go buy a card or if I table cost, just get it away right off the bat. And before I get back to the chat, I want to wrap up with one more tip for a first time vendor. So just bring plenty of cash, and ones, fives, and tens are the most important bills. And baggies. And this is something I always bring boxes. I always bring 100 count, 200 count boxes, and I do the fill a box. Fill this 100 count box for $20. But I also get a lot of people that only buy 10, 20 cards. Don't need a box, and they're like, do you have a baggie or a brown paper bag is a really good if you're doing bulk, like 25-cent cards, dime boxes. Brown paper bags are perfect, and I always forget, and it's been a year, 20 to 25 card shows, and I always forget, but I have been bringing small Ziploc bags, so people, if they ask for a bag, I have those on hand, and that's have extra boxes, bring storage boxes if somebody buys a whole bunch of cards, bring baggies for the smaller volume. So those are some of the just smaller things we don't think about. Let's see. John says, I find it ironic when content creators say it's too crowded while clogging up the aisles with their cameras. This is OG. I just hit the subscribe bell and thumbs up. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Jenny says, you're right, bringing more than you can fit. I buy boxes of dime cards from a dealer and he can go to his card and refill his table. Do you have a paper money, no coins, or do you make change for any transaction? So I rarely have change on me, and I should, being a 25-cent box. But if somebody comes up and only pulls one card out of my box, I'm not going to charge them a quarter and they give me $1 and I have to dig out 75 cents. If somebody comes up and they're like, I want this card, it's like, you can have it. So if anybody buys like 2 or 3, and hopefully I don't get an influx of people coming up, digging through my boxes. Ooh, here's a card. He's not going to charge me because it's 50 cents worth. I just have them, especially if it's kids. And usually if kids have like 4 cards, it kind of depends. So I'm on the fence of I like giving I like giving cards to kids, but I also like that kids get the lesson of how business works, um, because I think it's unfair educationally to just give kids a bunch of free stuff. Um, so I like it when kids have their cash ready and maybe they pull out 4 cards, they give me $1. So they learn and understand the value of $1 and how commerce works. And it's an education. Um, but at the same time, it's like, okay, you got these 4 cards, they pay me $1. Now you can pick out two cards for free, or if I have packs of cards. So I yes, I like to give, kids stuff, but you don't want to set in, an example of every time you go to a card show, you're just going to come home with a bunch of free stuff. So I like that where they can learn the lesson of how commerce works, how business works, but at the same time, they can also walk away with some free stuff, if that makes any sense. Maybe I'm an a-hole for doing that, but that's, I like to teach lessons as well. And I think it's a good way to teach kids business at a young age. I mean, that's kind of how I learned, you know, my start in business was selling cards as a kid, buying and selling at card shows. Let's see. What do you do for non-cash transactions, or is that not a thing? I accept PayPal. I've downloaded like 2 apps because people are like, I don't have PayPal. It's like, how do you not have PayPal? That PayPal I think is like a card thing. Like non-card people, and I've talked about this. Non-card people don't have PayPal, they use Venmo. So I downloaded Venmo for the first time, and then I think Cash App was another one where it's like, I don't do, the first person was like, I don't have PayPal. It's like, okay, what do you have? Like, I have Venmo. So like as they're standing in front of my table, um, I'm downloading Venmo and getting it all set up. So now I have Venmo, and then the next person, I'm like, I have PayPal and Venmo. Like I'm all excited. Now I have Venmo, and it's like I don't have either of those. Do you have Cash App? And I'm like, so again, here I am. So I think I'm covered. I have PayPal, I have Venmo, I have Cash App, Zelle. So I'm good to go. So yes. And I have very few transactions that are done via online payments. And I don't care. Like everything's reported. So I'm not trying to dodge taxes or anything like that. Um, you know, money is money. So I mean, when it is PayPal, it's like send friends and family, which I know that's probably wrong. I shouldn't say that out loud. But as a you know that's a whole nother argument that I can get into another day. Friends and family versus goods and services. Um, let's see. When you talk about change, it's funny how $20 and $100 pays for 1 to 5 sales. LOL carry lots of small bills. Definitely, definitely. Let's see. Always be prepared for fellow dealers to want to trade, especially toward the end of show and slow times. Bags. I always have paper bags with me. Lunch sacks. Yep, absolutely. Royals 417. What is up? Snow day in Kansas. I hope it's not coming our way. Glad to be able to catch you live. Thanks so much for stopping in. Enjoy the snow day. Our snow is melting. It's only 11 degrees right now. Jesus. We had fake spring last weekend. But we had some, because we got about 4 inches of snow on Monday. But it's most of it's melted away, which is good. My suggestion is to give kids cards if it is part of a transaction. They need to know the art of the sale. Perfect. I love it. Zach nails it. BSS, I agree. It's a great lesson for kids. I have 3 and they need it. Teach to fish. There you go. At the show, lots of kids on the hustle. And yeah, I see that too. I see that too, where, some of these kids have Pelican cases with like really nice cards, like high end stuff. It's like, damn. And not like high school, like 10-year-old kids. And we have some regular like kids that are 10, 11, 12 years old at the Madison show that come every month, and they're doing deals, and it's impressive. Like, man, these kids are gonna do well in business. Not an a-hole. You don't want to create a generation of expecting free handouts, if that makes sense, without me sounding like an a-hole. Totally get it. We're on the same page. PayPal is an older people thing too. That's true because PayPal was like the first like online payment system. It came out in I think 2003. I think is when it like was first adapted overall. I'm sure it was invented before that, but I think like '02, '03, somewhere in there was when it became more widespread. It was crazy how hard it was to get service for non-cash payments. That's another. Sometimes the whether it's Wi-Fi or your data, inside some of these card show halls, like Chicago, like at the National, man, it's. I think they do have Wi-Fi, which I think I learned at the last show. And it's like, oh wow, this is a game changer. Know what to show you should charge friends and family so they can't go back and dispute the charge. You have no coverage like eBay sales, and that's kind of what I was getting at was um, goods and services is more of a protection for the but in hand like yes that's so yeah I didn't say that but yes that's exactly why. Starting up a sixth tank will be the fourth shrimp tank. I'm showing up at a show with a gas can. PayPal is the MySpace of the online payment system, and I rarely use PayPal anymore. I mean, I don't like to keep a balance in there. I have a balance now, and it's like, what am I going to do with this? I just kind of let it sit there, which is kind of against what I do PayPal. But yeah, I rarely use PayPal. I have a couple vendors that will, at the end of the show, like, oh crap, I forgot to give you cash. Can I PayPal you payment? So that way. 10 to 13-year-old kids are dialed in. I'm talking about complete package, polite, courteous, honest, upfront, friendly, knowledgeable, excited, informed. I tune in with the game in the market. That's great. Do you record all sales in a notebook spreadsheet for taxes? So it's a great question. That's a great question. So what I do is all of my card show sales are tracked via just notepad on my phone. So every transaction I do is spelled out, in my notepad. Now not down to the card level because I'm moving hundreds and hundreds of cards and that. But say you come up and buy 8 cards for $2, that transaction goes in, 25-cent cards, $2. Next person buys $10 worth of dollar cards, $10. So it's dialed in by transaction, and then I'll create a receipt. I use gosh, I can't think of what the website is, but I use a website that you can create receipts and all that stuff. So then I create a receipt, and I just do it uh, all encompassing. So I don't do a receipt for every single transaction, but I'll do say I made just round number $500 in sales. So card show sales $500, and then I'll say this was on 27 transactions. So that's how I do it for reporting purposes. Zach, what is MySpace? Cooter says some of us remember going to the post office to get a money order to pay for eBay cards. Definitely, I was on eBay back in '98, buying and selling. Getting those money orders, personal checks. Even a lot of people sent cash through the mail. You'd sell. So you'd sell, and I wrote an article. I sent the link out a few days ago on Twitter, where you sell an item, say you sell a $10 item. This is back in the late '90s, even into the early 2000s. You sell a $10 card, and when the buyer wins it, you had to email the buyer and say, "Thanks for winning the auction. Please send $10 plus $2 shipping and handling to my address." And in a week, 2 weeks, you would receive a money order in the mail, and then you would go have to cash the money order, or personal check. If it was a personal check, you had to wait for it to clear, and then you sent the item. It was so archaic. And now we complain about having to wait 24 hours for our payment from a transaction. Like, I sold this item at 7 a.m. yesterday, and I haven't got my money. Where back in the day, and yes, I know technology has changed, all that stuff, but it shows how little we remember of 20 years ago. Let's see. Now on transactions in Notepad, is that only as a seller, or are you doing that at each table you buy at? I do both. So, in my and I'll just get my Notepad out. So what I do to track transactions, I actually brought a laptop. The very first show I did in Madison, I brought my laptop with a spreadsheet. But then it's an extra thing to carry around and worry about. And my phone, like I always have my phone, sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes I use my phone for payments. So here's the last one, Rockford, February. So I have all my transactions, dollar cards, $12, dollar cards, $5, all that, da 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 da. And then at the bottom, I have what I bought. So at the Rockford show last month, I only bought one monster box of uh, bulk, and it was $60. So, then I'll go through and I'll add up. That's kind of, I probably should you can use the Google Sheets. That way you don't have to do the calculating, because the Notepad, I have to like manually calculate all of the transactions, where if I used Google Sheets, just sum and boom, you've got it minus what you bought. So I probably should go to Google Sheets for that. Now that I'm talking it out, I think I'll do that. So yes, so I track everything, and just like so at card shows and for reporting purposes. Now we're kind of going into the more veteran stuff. We're approaching an hour already, but I want to go into some tips that Jenny asked, and I'm sorry, we're 51 minutes in, and Jenny, I haven't even got to the questions you posed on Twitter yesterday. But I'll create receipts for what I buy and what I sell at card shows. So, my receipt, say I sold $500 worth of cards at the show. This was, say incoming sales, $500 on 27 transactions. And then a separate receipt, $60, monster box from John D from Indiana. And so that's just so there's somewhat, it's not an official receipt, but I'm tracking it. So could you imagine today doing money orders in volume 100? No, I could not. I could not imagine that. Could not imagine that. And that's another thing that people take for granted is the importance of the eBay CRM. Like not just the 100 money orders, but 100 emails that you're sending to buyers and reminders. eBay does all that within their CRM. And that is worth 12 to 13% alone. So some people don't think about those things because that saves so much. Can you imagine 100, not only just waiting for 100 money orders per day, but getting those all organized? Like eBay does all that. Like it's all boom. Isn't that worth, a few more percentage points in fees? Hell yeah. I remember getting loose bills and change taped together in the mail for eBay. Most definitely. I have a website I'm using. It's cool because it'll do percentage like, hey, you spent 27% of your expenses on shipping supplies. Yeah, and QuickBooks has an app. I just use spreadsheets. I like spreadsheets. And a lot of the apps and websites you have to pay. Like if you want to get more in depth, you have to pay. And it's like, just do it on a spreadsheet. So let's get into more veteran tips. I'll go back to Dan's question. Talks about do you like doing deals at the beginning of the show or the end of the show? And it's a little bit of both. Technically, if I'm selling bargain boxes, so this Saturday I'm taking all fresh bargain boxes to the Rockford Card Show. Now, the past few months, I've been trying to blow out my bargain boxes, and they've been my price tag $100 per 4-row monster box. That price is no longer because now I have fresh inventory. The reason those were $100 per box was because I had basically made a good amount of money selling quarter cards out of those boxes. And they'd been to 12, 15, 18 shows throughout the year. Now I have fresh boxes. If somebody came up, there's going to be less of a volume discount. And it's probably going to be if somebody wanted to buy my quarter boxes at the beginning of the show, I'm probably going to be right at 300 bucks. Figure I think 2,000 cards, and that's what, 15 cents a card. I'm not going to go below that. So it all kind of depends. If somebody came up at the Madison show in 2 weeks, maybe that price is $250 because I sold some stuff from the Rockford show, but there's still a lot of value left in those boxes that I can take to future card shows. But by the end of the year, they've been sifted through, they've been gone through, and they're going to be blown out for $100. So that's kind of my thought process. And new boxes I don't like to sell, and I'm not as likely to give volume discounts because they haven't been to any card shows yet. It's fresh new inventory. So I'm less apt to sell at the beginning of a card show. Now, if it's November and these quarter boxes have been to 12, 15, 18 shows, 20 shows, then I'd rather sell at the beginning of the show. So it all depends on the age of my inventory, basically. If it's new inventory, I want to at least wait till the end of the show, or newer inventory, just so I have that, it gets through the show. So I think most dealers prefer to do a little bit of both. It kind of depends. If you're a bulk seller, you want to take advantage of the customers coming through the door throughout the day and then dump them off so you don't have to take them home. And there's value in not having to lug 15 boxes home. A lot of vendors like to walk around before the show because that's when they have the most time, because, the rest of the show, the card they may want is going to be gone and they don't have the time because they're dealing with their own customers. And by the end of the show, the cards they want might not be there. So it's a little bit of both. So I tried to answer that quickly so I can wrap this up in under an hour. So Jenny asked, and this was what led to today's show. And here we are 57 minutes in before I get to her questions. I'm sorry. What to bring. And I think I touched on that early on. But I think your question, Jenny, was more tailored to, how to differentiate between your online inventory and your card show inventory. And I'm fortunate enough to, I have a clear distinction between this is going to go on eBay, this is going to go to card shows. So I have, 12 quarter boxes and dollar boxes that are strictly card show boxes. And so I can leave them in my car or put them on the counter. And then when it's card show day, put them in the car and away we go. So I don't have to, unless I'm refilling, which I try to do. And this is another question. How often do you restock your inventory? Sometimes it's every month. Toward the end of the year last year, I was notating for my regular customers, like, hey, this box is new for October. This box is new for November. So they knew the other boxes are kind of stale if they've been to previous shows. So they know, hey, these are the new boxes. And I think it generates more sales that way. So they're not digging through cards that they've looked at the last 2 or 3 shows. So I try to bring at least something new to each show, box wise. So that's kind of how I change up the inventory. My higher end stuff, anything over $1 just goes on eBay because I like my niche at card shows is quarter boxes and dollar boxes. So they all go into those boxes. Anything over that goes to the eBay store. Let's see. Oh, that was your questions up here. How to organize. So how to organize, and that's kind of going piggybacking on what I just said. I kind of have a clear distinction on what goes to the show and what stays on eBay. And then your other question was what goes into card show inventory. And again, for me, and this is going to be different for everybody, I have that clear line of distinction where, if I'm going to put it in a quarter box, it's going to be card show inventory. If it's going to go in a dollar box, it's card show inventory. But if it's anything above that, it's going to go on eBay. Let's see. Ready to go ? So that was, I'm trying to think of what your question was. Ready to go was, do I have my boxes ready to go? And yes, I have all of my boxes just packed up, ready to go for the next show. And it's a little more difficult if you're balancing your card show inventory with your eBay store inventory. For me, and the way I think, I don't like that hassle of okay, I sold this card at my card show. Now I've got to go take it off my whatever online platform I sell on. So that's just for me and the way I work and my brain works. I'd rather have a clear differentiation between the two. And then you asked if new boxes each show. Yes, I try. Um, I don't think I brought anything new for February, but I will. For March is going to be like all new quarter boxes because I blew out. I sold 9 quarter boxes to another dealer after the February Rockford show. So now I'll have fresh inventory for this month's show. Right at an hour. So Rick says I offered to buy a dealer's bargain box last month and he said no. It was one of his new boxes. Yep, and that's, if it's a newer box, I'm less apt to move it in bulk because I know I can turn it over show after show. But if it's been 4 or 5 shows, I'm more apt to sell it in bulk. Cooter says, do you sleeve your quarter box cards? Yes. In fact, I was considering not for this month just for time constraints, but I ended up sleeving and I've gone through. I just bought 20,000 penny sleeves a couple weeks ago and I'm getting low, so I'm gonna have to put another order in. But yes, I do. I sleeve all quarter cards and all dollar cards are in either a card saver or top loader, so it's easily to differentiate between quarter and dollar cards. And then I have a strategy I may try at a future show. It's not going to be maybe the April 30th show. We'll see. I may not even set up at that show in Madison, just because it's going to be multiple rooms. But maybe in a future show, I'm going to try something different as far as bulk sales. So Herman's got to go. Thanks for stopping in. By the way, hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't. I appreciate it. Great chat today. If you have any questions, hit me up. Twitter's the best. Twitter DMs are the best way to reach me. Zach says, I wasn't sure, but I was smart enough to know that I get Jenny what she needs to be her questions asked. I worry about the cards flying over in sleeves. So yes, that's a concern because sleeves are slippery. And especially if you grab a pile out, and I have it happen all the time. But what I've learned especially if you're doing multiple shows, and here's why I think it's important to sleeve quarter cards, okay? The corners can get really dinged up if they're not sleeved in boxes, and here's why. You're just think of how you put boxes away. Like most of the time, we're not like white gloving our bargain boxes, right? So I'm not just picking up maybe you are, but I'm not just picking up just a box and I'm not placing it. Now, if they're not like secured in your car, like mine, I just put in the back of my SUV. And sometimes they I have to brake hard for a red light or something and boom, they hit the back door. If they're not sleeved, that collision could cause some corner damage. And I've seen when I buy in bulk, I've seen some dinged up corners because they weren't sleeved. And I'm sure that's why, because at the end of the show, you just want to get the hell home. So you're throwing your quarter boxes in the car and just think of what UPS does to your boxes. And so that's why I think all quarter cards should be sleeved, just because not for people looking through them, but just in travel, in transit, and just all of the times you're lifting them up and you're tossing them in or carefully placing them in your car and whatnot. So that's why I prefer to sleeve my quarter cards. eBay or shows, which do you prefer and which has higher margins? It depends. So a lot of my cards that I sell for $1.50 on eBay, my net is about 50 cents per card. They would go into the quarter box. So while I'm netting more on eBay, it's cash right now at a card show. Whereas on eBay, it might sit for several months, and vice versa. My cards in my quarter box, I pulled out when I started to reorganize my inventory over the winter, Christmas time. I pulled out a Jose Canseco. like oddball subset card, and it sold for $7.50, like instantly. Like actually, I think it took a day. It took it. It had been through about December, probably 15 card shows. It had been in a 25-cent box because it was an original card that was in my quarter box. 15 card shows, and somebody could have had it for 25 cents. When I was going through all the quarter boxes, I'm like, oh, I'm going to check this out. This is, a somewhat rare card. Sold for $7.50, boom, within a day. So it all depends. It's a crapshoot. It all depends. And yeah, like Jenny followed up. That's a tricky question. It is. It is. You have way more eyeballs on eBay, but you know, sometimes it's nice. What I found is a lot of my junk wax era sells way faster on eBay than in my bargain boxes. I can put a shiny green prism in my eBay store for $1.50, and it'll sit for months and months and months. If I put that same card in a quarter box, man, somebody will grab the whole stack of shiny prisms, and so I think selling it, say it's $10 worth of cards in the quarter box. I'd rather have that $10 today than I would wait and make $20 on it in a year, or 6 months, or whatever it may be. So just my thought on turnover. So great questions. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Have a great Thursday. Keep your fingers crossed for some baseball movement, get a deal done, and we can play ball. So back on tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central. No show on Saturday. I'll be transit. I'll be in transit to Rockford, Illinois for the Northern Illinois Card Show on Saturday morning. So come out and see me if you're in that area. And we'll talk tomorrow.